Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our fifth Alumni Chat Series. My name is Aditya Shah, and I'm an equity research analyst at Romero Research and a community leader at Romero Mentoring. Today, we have with us Yossef, who is an investment banking co-op at Needham and Company, and we are very excited for him to join us today. How are you doing, Yossef, today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Perfect. I'm perfect. I'm doing very well. Sun is shining out here. It's a Sunday. I mean, getting to speak with you, it's ideal.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Yes. So let's get started. So the first question which I'm going to ask you is going to be one of the most important questions which I'm going to ask you this entire chat series. So you better pay attention to it and give it a lot of thought. First question is 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Which decade do you love the most and why?
Yeah, I mean, this is what a way to kick off. Give
Yeah.
me the '90s. I'm a big basketball fan.
Yeah, me too.
The '90s were good for basketball. We had Jordan. Jordan definitely ran that decade, but it's definitely the highlight, I guess, for the NBA. Though I do think LeBron's the GOAT. I had to
You
drop
do
that
think? Yeah.
in. I do. Had to.
It's a tough loss for the Lakers this season, so but we'll
Yeah.
get there. We'll get there.
And next year he'll
Next
be
year.
back. He'll be back next year.
100%. I agree. All right, so let's get started. Let's get down to business. A more important, not important question, more serious question for the community. All right. So, please walk us through your professional journey, including any campus involvement, long term and short term goals which you have.
Yeah, so I'm a rising senior actually at Northeastern. Kind of feels weird saying that. Time
Yeah.
flies. And so when I got to campus, I first joined the Northeastern Student Value Fund. So it's a long-only value-based investing fund that really tries to beat the S&P through, like I said, value-based investing. So this is really my first introduction into finance,
Yeah.
building financial models, really analyzing, taking a deep dive into companies. So that was really cool. And I made a lot of good connections there, good friends. I'm still part of the club. Whenever I'm not on co-op, actually, just because of the way the cycling works. So that's been really good. So my first internship was actually in public accounting, where I was an audit intern at PwC. From there,
Nice.
I learned a lot about like working in a corporate setting, working with financial statements, which really gave me a good baseline, good background for ultimately pivoting into finance and specifically more investment-based role. I was an analyst at Romero Capital for a little while.
Mhm.
There, I really was able to sharpen my skill set in financial modeling, in
Mhm.
PowerPoint, and putting together these professional presentations. Sharpen those Excel skills, which are very very important
Yeah.
in the banking world. So that was an incredibly worthwhile experience. But and then I ultimately pivoted in investment past spring where I was at Needham, and there, I really worked on a lot of capital raises, a lot of sell side M&A,
Mhm.
um, just different deals, and
Mhm.
got really good exposure. Was able to sit in on a lot of calls, so that was really good. And actually, tomorrow I start up at FT Partners, where I'll also be an investment banking summer analyst, not spring this time. So definitely been a good journey so far.
I
Hope
mean,
to work in investment banking right out of school. So
100%.
we'll see where it goes, but so far
Yeah,
so good.
I mean, you seem to be on a good track. FT Partners is great, Needham and Company is great. I mean, in term, but when listening to your experiences, I mean, you seem to have like a lot of interest in investment banking and finance in general. So talking about that, what made you particularly choose finance, and why did you decide to pursue investment banking, over any other field in finance?
So much to the disappointment of my parents who wanted me to go into medicine, I decided to go to finance mainly because there's that kind of art and science to it.
Yeah.
So it's not just purely analytical. You do have to apply your own creative judgment, which is really cool. And it's not very menial. You get a lot of strategic thinking in your day to day work life, which I really valued. And investment banking really comes down to the learning experience, right? You
Yeah.
gain a lot of, you do work a lot of hours, but you do learn a lot. You gain a lot of exposure to cool companies. You sit in on a lot of calls with really smart people,
Yeah.
which I got to experience at Needham.
Hmm.
And also, I value career flexibility a lot. So
Yeah.
once you go into those first 2 years of banking, you're able to pivot really into anything you want or
Hmm.
continue that
Yeah.
career path if you so choose.
Hmm.
All these factors really played into the role of me ultimately choosing investment banking.
No, I completely agree. Like the skills which you learned at like an investment bank, they're so transferable that you can choose any other field if you decide not to pursue investment banking after a couple of years. because you learn so many like organization skills, time management skills. The soft skills which you learned are like really, really important. And like as in, if you're trying to get into entrepreneurship, you can apply those skills there. If you're trying to get into consulting, you can apply your skills there. So definitely a good choice over medicine, I feel. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
attention to detail is a big one in banking for
Yeah,
sure. So
I know.
that's a
Uh,
good answer.
mhm. So, please, briefly describe your experience and your role at Needham and what your typical day was like, and what kind of activities or what kind of job responsibilities were you given as an investment banking spring analyst. So, yeah.
Yeah, so jumping right into it. So really I'll keep it into really three buckets, like the
Mhm.
menial kind of almost like grunt work per se that everyone has to do as a lower level analyst or an
Yeah.
intern, pitch work, and then you have live deal experience.
Mhm.
So, for example, some of the more grunt work would be like fixing like standardized decks that we had
Yeah.
for say software per se, or education technology that we'd
Mhm.
keep standard that we could pull
Mhm.
from. That kind of falls into that. So making sure all the formatting's right, all the comps are up to date, all the information in there is up to date regarding our say deal experience, things
Mhm.
like that.
Yep.
And then more on the pitch work side of things, I put together a lot of slides about what makes Needham unique, what makes us qualified to work on a particular deal. I can't go into too much
Yeah.
specifics about specific transactions just because some
Mhm.
of them haven't closed.
100%.
But generally, also would work on the comp set, pitching on valuation wherever I could, and then also it was really cool to kind of see a company that you pitched for kind of transition into more live deal. So you got to see
100%.
the deal
That's
process
really
really
cool.
all the way through. So in a live deal, there was one that we were doing a capital raise where I got to work on the DCF and the precedent transactions and the comps analysis with my coworker. That was really cool.
Yeah.
We put together a lot of like marketing materials for say a sim or a teaser
Mhm.
or a sales memo in the case of an IPO. So
Mhm.
getting to work on that, getting exposure on that end of things was also really cool.
Yeah.
Really important, really things I pulled from it. Attention to detail, definitely number one. You never wanted your MD to yell
Yeah.
at you formatting was off. You want to make sure all the fonts were the same, all the bullets were the same
Yeah.
color, the color scheme was the same throughout, just things
Mhm.
like that. And everything was really polished and ready to present because such small
Yeah.
details go a long way when you're in client services. And really, yeah, just got a lot of exposure. I mainly was on more of a tech side, software, education, technology, companies like that. So that was really cool. So that
Yeah.
was really my what kind of my experience overall looked like. Definitely a great experience. Learned a lot from it, and everyone I met there was great. Just had coffee with them for the first time recently. It
Yeah.
was oh yeah, just
That's
fantastic.
great. That's great. That's fantastic. And also like this one question which comes to my mind, right? When you talk about your role at investment at Needham, was that your role was a generalist role, or was it related to a specific in a particular product group, or specific coverage group or something like that?
Yeah, definitely more of a generalist role. I kind of got staffed on whatever kind
Hmm.
of was needed. So I thought it was actually pretty cool because it was my first really investment banking role. Just kind
Yeah.
of get broad exposure. So I
Hmm.
wasn't really siloed into any particular product group
Hmm.
or coverage group per
Yeah.
se. So I
Yeah.
was definitely more of a generalist role, and
Yeah.
I found it to be personally pretty
No,
enjoyable.
100%. Yeah, and also because you as an intern when you come into this industry, a generalist role helps you understand what the different industry structures are like within investment banking, and it helps you really understand what you really want to do. Because on paper, when you talk to a lot of people, they say that M&A is the coolest. Maybe it's not the best fit for you. So this generalist role helps you kind of like weed out certain groups within investment banking that you may not want to do, and actually focus on the things which you actually enjoy. So
Yeah,
definitely the generalist role is really, really helpful when you as an intern when you're coming in.
yeah, no, definitely can echo everything you just said for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So after having worked in investment banking, which field allowed you to have a good work-life balance? And you also said you were working at PwC. So which field allowed you to have a good work-life balance, and how did you cope with the pressure at the place with the worst work-life balance?
Well, I mean, my hours at both were actually pretty long. I
Hmm.
guess at PwC was kind of tougher because this one was more remote. So
Uh-huh.
if I ever had any downtime or anything like that, I could say hit a workout or something. But
Yeah.
it also is kind of a double-edged sword because at PwC, once I leave the office, I'm kind of out.
Yeah.
But at any time throughout the night, I could be called in to do something in
Mhm.
particular when it is a work from home environment. So, I mean, both work life balances were pretty challenging, but the most important thing was really just finding time for things you enjoy, making sure I got that workout in. Can't let myself, get out of shape. Had to make sure I
Yeah,
maintain some sort of activity levels.
100%.
And just focusing on weekends, really touching base with key connections with people that I value, spending as much time with family and friends as I can. Luckily, in both roles, I didn't really have to work on the weekends very much, so that was good. I'll definitely get back to you on that question after the summer analyst role
Yeah.
because summer analyst roles tend to be the most brutal on
Uh,
the in terms of work life balance. But just finding time for things that you enjoy that you value is really the best advice I can give, so that you
yeah.
are
100%, I completely agree. And working out is just like so good. Like
right.
even if like when you work, when you're just tired and you may think that working out will just get you even more tired, but just boosts your energy up and like you're just going again. So I think I completely agree. Like getting a good workout in the middle of like a long day is just what you need, with alongside a cup of coffee, of course.
Yeah, the caffeine. Yeah, we built that caffeine addiction real quick.
Yeah. I completely agree. What do you think, helped you prepare for this internship? And if you were to go back in time, what other things would you have done slash learned to better prepare you for your role at Needham and Company?
Well, actually, I'll touch more on soft skills per se because I feel like everyone that's really listening to this has that modeling background, has that really analyst quote unquote background. So I'll speak to more of the soft skills, just having a positive attitude, like learning how to really make connections with people, making sure you're enjoyable to be around, that
Mhm.
positive presence. Because the last thing someone wants is at 11 p.m. or
Yeah.
12. Everyone's been working a long day to have someone who's boring or to have someone who has a negative outlook on things. So that's definitely something very important. I learned that at school mainly just through
Mhm.
interacting with
Yeah.
peers. I'll kind of speak to Romero, my time at Romero actually. Attention to detail. I know it's something Mr. Romero harps on a lot, and
Yes.
you don't really get an appreciation for it until you're working in that field.
Mhm.
But it is really, really important. It's important to really take the feedback that your analysts and that your associates give you so that don't make the same mistake over and over again, so that you're able to be entrusted with more responsibility. And that was something that took me a while early on to kind of catch on to because that attention to detail is something you need to work on. But once I was able to get the hang of it more, I was able to take on more responsibility, put out a better output overall, which I felt like was really rewarding personally because you do get that positive feedback.
Mhm.
So that's definitely something that when Mr. Romero says take it seriously, uh,
Yes.
something that really matters as you
100%.
progress in
Yeah,
your career.
during my time also, he said attention to detail is the key. That's the mantra. That was the mantra. So it was amazing. Yeah, I completely agree. So moving on to the next question, how did you convince your parents, to make an investment at Romero Mentoring? And do you think your investment, the ROI on your investment was good? Because it's not an expensive, it's an investment into your future. Because as you already know, like every year, like around 50 to 55,000 applicants apply for an investment banking role, out of which only 2,500 get in. You really and especially now when you go as days go by, it's even going to get tougher and tougher to get into investment banking. So you actually you need a lot of good skill sets before you get in. So how do you think your investment paid out?
Yeah, well, on the side of convincing my parents, I mean, I didn't really have to do much convincing. They were pretty on board with it, which obviously is something I was really blessed with. So
Mhm.
I had to pay for half of it, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really too concerned about that.
Mhm.
Like I knew that I would put in the requisite work while in the program to really be able to get a lot out of it. And the ROI, I mean, it pays for itself. Just being able to interview really well with these investment banks, all your technicals, and not only do you know them, a lot of people go into it trying to memorize them.
Yes.
Just make sure that you understand them. So
100%.
I can speak to in a lot of interviews where you get asked really, really tough questions that don't necessarily show up on those guides, and you're able to kind of walk through them,
Mhm.
think through, build up that way of thinking, which I don't think you can really get anywhere else. So
Mhm.
I would say that my investment has definitely paid off.
Yeah.
But my best advice to everyone is that what you put into is what you're going to get out of it. So as
Mhm.
long as you're ready to put in that work, really take the time to understand the material, go through it. If you have any questions, reach out and take time to, of course, network with alumni, with other members within the program. Then I think if you're really prepared to do that, prepared to put in that work, then you are in a really good position to really reap the benefits and really have a pretty high ROI on that investment.
100%, I completely agree. And Romero mentoring. Personally, I think that from when I joined the program and to where I'm right now, it's like the amount of things which I've learned over the course of 1 year has been tremendous. And like now, when people talk about, when I hear CNBC, or when I hear people talk about deals and certain numbers, I can actually make sense of it now, instead of just being confused about it, making it seem as if it was Latin or something. So like you can actually make sense of what you're doing and what people are talking about, which according to me is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And also prepares you well for the financial services industry post college, if you're trying to get into that, because you already know the technicals, you already are very, very well aware with the soft skills also, which you learn at Romero Mentoring. So yeah, 100%. I'm completely on board with you, and I mean, congratulations to your parents. I mean, this was one of the best investments they've made. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely echo that for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's 90% of a banking interview per se, because I could speak to it. It's making sure that you speak their language and you
Yeah,
do.
100%. I completely agree. I mean, I was going to ask you my last question as to, what advice do you have for freshmen and sophomores, but it seems like you've already answered that in my last previous question. So with that, I think we come to an end with this chat series. Thank you so much, Yusuf, for again coming, and participating in the chat series and educating our community about your experience. I'm sure a lot of members will be able to understand your experience and get a little bit out of it so that they're better prepared. And yeah, I mean, thank you so much and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. Definitely enjoyed it. Have a good one, man.
Thank you.